Live performances from Diamond Platinums, Sister Charity, and Reggie. Visit www.coffeemarathonug.com to register now for just 30,000 shillings. Your fee includes a marathon kit and full access to the concert. The Coffee Marathon, uplifting rural coffee women out of poverty. Brought to you by Inspire Africa Group.
Buza Commissioner, enhancing tax education and bringing it closer to the taxpayers. Many Ugandans have questions about the taxes they pay to URA.
When we come at revenue, they tell us to clear chitenge at 10,000. And when we are selling chitenge, we sell it at 17. So we don't know whether we are working or not.
Understanding your tax obligations can help you grow your business and avoid unnecessary losses. Now, you can get direct answers. Send your tax-related questions via WhatsApp or SMS to 0790-141-887, and the Commissioner General of URA, John Musinguzi, will personally address them. Tune in to UBC News Tonight every Monday and Wednesday for expert insights and clear explanations. Buza Commissioner.
Oyo ye Diplock Sega wanga chaguze myaka namwe 3 May ku National Theatre. The lifetime of melody concert, 43 years of Diplock Segawa performing in Kampala for the first time in a long time. Enyimbo boba do ulyambulire kati jangu Diplock Segawa hazikuyimbire. Tickets eya gold ya mtwalo 15 ate VIP ya mitwalo 30. Booking ticket yo ku noti 765 585 oba ku www.carrytickets.com oba ku National Theatre. Ono ye Diplock Segawa. Abiri musatu May, biri abiri mwetano ku National Theatre. Celebrating 43 years of Diplock Segawa. Big tutusi wako charism, UNCC, UNMF, Statewide Insurance Company, UCC, Riz Medical Center, John Joe Fashions, Hot, Q Vibes, Nekari Tickets.
This May 24th is the grand finale of the Pearl of Africa Tourism Expo 2025. Festival Day at Speak Resort Munyonyo. Experience a vibrant mix of music, dance, fashion, art, a fun-filled kids section, and an epic boat regatta on Lake Victoria. Live on stage, Luthri, Winnie Nwaji, Abeka Band, Otim Alpha, Sunabed, Shilaga Shumba, Salvador, Alideki Brian, Crane Performers, and more. General tickets go for 20k and VIP for 50k. Get yours now at tagticketing.com. Visit 3 days of music, laughter, and adventure surrounded by the beauty of nature, featuring Africa's top artists. Dance and live fully in the biggest celebration of Africa's diverse heritage, deep in nature's embrace. Welcome to Milege. Explore and celebrate life, music, dance, cinema, food, folklore, and stories. Milege World Music Festival 2025, 6th to 8th June at Botanical Gardens, Entebbe. To buy your ticket, dial *165*20#. Choose Milege Festival 2025 and follow the prompts. Or call 0752-833-111 or visit www.milege.org. Sponsored by Entebbe Municipal Council, Uganda Wildlife Education Center, Uganda Wildlife Authority, Civil Aviation Authority, Uganda Tourism Board, Rock Telcom, Ovidian Uganda, 106.5 Energy Radio, Protea Hotel Entebbe, and UBC.
The government's mandate is to maintain law and order, safeguard citizens' rights, and provide essential public services.
Remember, one of the pillars of a roadmap is innovation and entrepreneurship.
There has been this question of how are you protecting our indigenous seed?
It's going to be a tall project that answers somebody's question.
For the past 20 weeks, the front bench has brought you insightful discussions on governance, security, healthcare, justice, and commerce.
When you go through this complicated procedure, involve the lawyers, you bring the case against him, the judge will hear you out and pass judgment, and you're out of court in record time.
We remain committed to keeping you informed and engaged on key national matters.
So these are huge, these are powerful organizations which now Uganda chairs. Why don't you come together?
If we haven't migrated to the e-card because of various reasons, including that not all the people of Uganda have smartphones.
You can sit in your house, apply for a passport. If you have a Ugandan who has a successful logistics firm in the US, it means he can come to Uganda and do a lot more.
Now airing every Monday at 8:30 p.m. with me, Jethro Kasaiji, your interface with the government only on your public broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Every Wednesday, live in our studios in the heart of Kampala.
We have to change the political culture in this country, really. Who has bewitched Ugandans?
I want to assure you, as government, we shall do whatever it takes to ensure that Ugandans are safe.
We have conversations that have analysis, explanation.
This law society, this union of theirs, because they want a job everywhere, they want to be this, they want to be that, they want... No. We know it's a union.
You cannot be making a road, bitumen grade 1, in Congo for 5 billion.
But not every truth is fact, and not every fact is truth.
The argument that the General Court Martial is responsible for peace and stability is without basis, either in law or in fact.
We have been told how Napoleon was a great orator. Now, Napoleon cannot help me get food. They told me combine harvest in Saskatchewan. I don't know where Saskatchewan is. This is a geography we're taught. Instead of teaching me how to preserve Mabera forest, they're teaching me about Rhineland. This is a problem we got. We cannot run away from it.
Right now, you hear very disgusting stories of members of parliament. Instead of discussing the details of loans, they ask for their cuts.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
3 days of music, laughter, and adventure surrounded by the beauty of nature, featuring Africa's top artists. Africa's diverse heritage deep in nature's embrace. Welcome to Milege. Explore and celebrate life, music, dance, cinema, food, folklore, and stories. Milege World Music Festival 2025, 6th to 8th June at Botanical Gardens, Entebbe. To buy your ticket, dial *165 *20 hash. Choose Milege Festival 2025 and follow the prompts. Or call 0752 833 111 or visit www.milege.org. Sponsored by Entebbe Municipal Council, Uganda Wildlife Education Center, Uganda Wildlife Authority, Civil Aviation Authority, Uganda Tourism Board, Rock Telecom, Ovidian Uganda, 106.5 Energy Radio, Protea Hotel Entebbe, and UBC.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest of our our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Across Uganda, the parish development model is paving the way for prosperity, helping families transform their lives through strategic farming practices, like the 4-acre model.
In our Chibaro of 1996, we said first acre, put coffee. Second acre, fruits. The third acre, you put pasture for dairy cows. The fourth acre, for food, cassava. The good thing is that now cassava is also becoming a very good cash product, but at least for food. Then, mind you, the backyard. You put poultry for eggs, you put piggery.
I'm in a 1-acre plot of land. In this 1 acre, Your Excellency, I practice this banana plantation. I also practice coffee. I also have dairy, Your Excellency. Every month, Your Excellency, I get 500,000 from these bunches.
The 7 activities we recommended, they have a big global demand.
We have 10,000 Nile tilapia fish and 10,000 African catfish. And when we sell our 10,000 tilapia, we get in one harvest 20 million shillings.
Fruits, especially capsule, which is cold. And then finally, those who are near the wetlands, like the ones in Bukit who are wasting the wetlands, they should do fish farming, not in the center of the swamp, but at the edge of the swamp.
From coffee farms to fish ponds, the 4-acre model is empowering Ugandans to transform their lives. The parish development model is your pathway to wealth creation. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance.
Before I joined the Emyoga program, I was ignorant about income generating scheme. I was financially poor, but through Emyoga, when I was elected to become the secretary of the circle, I started gaining skills and knowledge on financial management. When we received the money, I borrowed 2,700,000. With that money, I was able to buy 2 cows. Some balance, I was able to improve on my citrus because it was affected so badly. Part of it, I put it on poultry because I knew that poultry is another place that I can invest money because poultry has a quick return. We sell it at any time. Before, the orange was really affected by the virus, and I was not able to spray. But when I got the money, I focused on it, had to get labor to help me soften the trees, spray, remove the sick one, and bury. So when I did that, there was improvement in the tree. It was no longer getting those diseases. But the first time I got the good yield, that made me get 2,600,000. That was between February and March. And I continued getting up to now. There's continuous harvest. On it, I wouldn't have got that money. In my circle, I have 17 associations, and I have a total of 117 members. So being women entrepreneurs, activities that can earn us income, like drying eggplants and packaging. We have also managed to have cassava chips that's the high quality. Pack it, can be milled, and then also mixed with cowpea flour to make bagia. That can be packed for children for school. We also have sodium bicarbonate, abalang. People have been just neglecting those things, but in the community, if you don't have, you cannot prepare a magira. We have also initiated that, putting it in the box, then also labeling or branding. It fetches us man daily income. We have different.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Good morning and thank you for keeping it with us on UBC TV. Welcome to the Extra. I'm Robert Chirabo Nyonyinton. And this morning, we are going to be discussing the government interventions in addressing challenges of various vulnerable groups. Now, who are the vulnerable groups? Well, the guest I have in studios will explain deeper. But of course, we know that there are categories that government, for reasons we shall justify, are taken as vulnerable groups. For example, when we talk about persons with disability, the disability in one way or the other renders them vulnerable. The women and the others that he will be talking about. Now we want to see how is government targeting, how is government helping these particular groups of people to ensure that they achieve their full potential as if they had no vulnerability. I'm with Joshua Chalimpa, who is the spokesperson or communications officer, Minister of Gender, Labor and Social Development. Most welcome, Chalimpa.
Thank you very much, Comrade Chirabo, for always giving us the opportunity to speak to Ugandans on the mighty UBC. I'm happy to be here, as always, and to talk to the issues that matter to the citizens of this country.
Now, first, help us understand when we talk about vulnerable groups, who are these categories and why do we categorize them as the vulnerable groups?
First of all, the Constitution of Uganda looks at Ugandans as Ugandans. They have equal rights. But we find that even though the Constitution assumes that we should be all equal, it also recognizes that for some reasons there are categories of society who are vulnerable. These are the ones who, for some reason, for example, they could be vulnerable because of geographical factors. People who live in mountainous areas, they are not accessible, they don't have access to such services. But there are also people, because of their physical disabilities or abilities, can be categorized as vulnerable. There are also people who are vulnerable because of other harmful cultural practices. Let me give the example. For example, you have the albinos. The albino community in Uganda can be regarded as vulnerable because there are some societies which look at them as candidates for ritual sacrifice. They have been trafficked, they have been brutalized, they have been killed for ritual sacrifice, so they are vulnerable. There are also categories like those living with disabilities who, because of their disabilities, may not even access some of the government programs. They can't fend for themselves. There are also those who are, because of their gender and because of the patriarchal system we have been locked in the space of being vulnerable. The women, for example, for many years, because they are women, they did not have access to inheritance, especially when we talk about issues of land. It is only now that recently there was the amendment to the succession. There was a Succession Act which was enacted, which gave them some semblance of some rights to inherit property from their parents. So these are the category of people we're talking about. But there are also children. You look at, for example, children who have been abandoned on the streets. You see street kids around Kampala, those are also vulnerable because they are not within the confines of their families. And for some reason, they find themselves on the streets. But there are also those who are vulnerable because have been rendered vulnerable because of poverty that they live in. A poor person misses out on some of the key factors. For example, they may not attain the education because they don't have money to pay school fees. They may not attain most of the social services, including health, because of being in that vulnerable situation of poverty. So these are the vulnerable communities, and there are quite many in Uganda, like many other developing countries.
Now, while explaining the vulnerable groups, the various categories, and why, let's look at some of the interventions. Some may be very specific, and I would love to begin with those that are very, very specific to a particular group.
There are a number of government interventions. Of course, the government, the mandate of addressing the issues of vulnerabilities rests within the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. So government, in addressing these vulnerabilities, anchors the programs within the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development, which holds that mandate. And we have, for example, a special grant that we give to people living with disabilities. This one, given to people in way of grant to be able to undertake different businesses they can do, because, like we are saying, disability is not inability. Many of these people are running shops, they are running businesses, they are cobras, mending shoes, they are doing tailoring, they are doing a number of things thanks to intervention by. There is also another category, the elder persons. In most of our societies today, the older persons find themselves in a position of vulnerability because the world has changed. Back then, communities used to look after their aged persons or older persons communally. It was responsibility of the family. The young would fend for the older persons. But you find that now that is changing because the young people are migrating from the villages to come to towns to look for work and money. You find that now in the villages you have these older persons
left alone,
almost abandoned.
Sometimes with also grandchildren.
And you know, this is
unattended. You know, the youth, they give birth, they throw to the village. Some don't even give any help, and it's the old person suffering.
And this is the age when the people need the care, because first of all, they are in a position where they are falling sick all the time, so they need access to health services. They also need to have proper nutrition, so it means they need to have money to buy the food that they need. The situation is changed in such a way that these days, even in the villages, food is bought from the shops. You find people buy rice, to buy most of the things. Those days, when these social safeguards existed, people were just going to the garden to pick food, prepare for the family, and now that one has been complicated by the times we are living in. Given the changing circumstances, government then came up with another special intervention, which is called SEGOP, Special Grant for Older Persons. Now, this one targets those who are aged. They are not very old because now we have two government programs. Whereas we have SEGOP, it looks at people from the 60s to 80. Those ones are regarded as, okay, old, but they can still work. We
Yes.
find that they are doing a lot of work. Look, you talked about the grandchildren. They are looking after grandchildren. They can run a shop. They can have a garden. Probably they have coffee, but they need somebody to help them pick the coffee beans from the garden. There is that category, which is addressed by that program. Well, remember that already in the program, we have another, in the government, in the ministry, we have SAGE, which is targeting people from the 80s and above.
That is
where
just
we give them a monthly stipend of 25,000 shillings.
But they usually get 70. Is it quarterly? Do you release quarterly?
Yeah, because on the diseases in government come quarterly. It means that if you multiply 25 times 3, you will have 75,000.
Yes, they usually get
so
75.
Normally they get that. Even for purposes of administering it, the cost of sending the money to these people means that you better send it once every 3 months. But the calculation is based on the month.
And that is just money they are given, the 75 quarterly. They get that money to do some, would I call it shopping? I hear some have invested. I have no evidence because I haven't interviewed any who is talking about having made a huge investment. However, I've ever come across one who told me she bought a goat. Now I keep asking myself, how did 75,000 buy a goat? That's what she told me.
Yeah, it is possible that, you know, in the villages you can get a young goat for that amount of money, and you can look after it. Of course, the intention business well and good. If they can buy a goat, that is added value. However, the design of the program was meant to give livelihood to these aging people. That's why it comes monthly. So if they can use it to buy salt, they can use it to buy sugar, it's good enough.
And in
but
that
if
old
they
age,
can buy a goat, they can buy chicken, they can buy things like that and multiply it, that is even much better.
Because that is money to eat, not refund, just given away.
Yes.
Then Segup, I'm still interested for that over 60 to 80 years. Help my viewer understand who benefits, and you said it's a grant, meaning government gives these people money. It's not money to refund. It is money for them to use. So who, yes, we know it is 60 to 80, but do I get it individually? Do I, how do I benefit from SEGO? Because our life expectancy increased. So many of us are going to grow old. And I know many old people, if you have a very young population, be rest assured that one time that very young population is going to be aging as well.
Of course, government, through different mechanisms, by the way, we work through different structures of local government. We have community development officers based in the communities at the level of the sub-county. We have also the LC system. So the mapping of where these older persons are is already a known, is a given. Of course, we also depend on data, which is provided by NIRA, to give us the kind of people that we are talking about. So we have the numbers. We are also ministry, working with different partners, working towards developing what we are calling a social registry. A social registry would have details of Ugandans, would know where a poor person is, would know where a person living with disabilities is, will know all categories of people, so we'll be able to pinpoint. The first attempt that we had that was when there was COVID. You remember when government was giving out support to people, and at that time, it was done haphazard because we didn't have that registry. So even identifying who should benefit from this kind of intervention was difficult. Now, learning from the past, the ministry found a social registry in place, which will detail people, their vulnerabilities, their age, their physical disabilities, such that now for interventions we can reach them. Even without that social register in place now, there are mechanisms which tell us where these older persons are, and these are the ones we are targeting for purposes of getting this fund. They are in position to use it for business. Some of them have done poultry, some of them have done piggery, a number of those programs that can help them. And we find that because now for them, they are in a physical space, at that age you are settled in a home, you find that we are seeing a lot of developments in what they are doing, a lots of improvements in their livelihood, thanks to this program.
Well, so do I wake up one, I clock 60, and I just go and say, now here I am, I need money to put in my business? What is the criteria?
Well, that used to be the basis, but it has since been decentralized. First of all, it would be very difficult to say that you're going to have 5 old people in a village. Probably you have 2 old people. There are also villages where you have 1. There are also villages where you don't have old people. So this one is targeting individuals in that category who can do these enterprises we're talking about. And again, the choice is to the beneficiary to decide which kind of enterprise they want to undertake.
Very interesting. Old people, now we are done. You know what particular programs government has for you. We will look at those that are tailor-made, those that are very specific. Let's switch to persons with disabilities.
Yes, I talked about a grant which is given to people with disabilities. Still within the Ministry of Gender, we have a department for disability which handles that, this intervention. Again, the funding for this is coming from the central government through the consolidated fund. We are talking about money which is appropriated from the national budget for purposes of addressing this. It's not that there is a donor somewhere who is providing this. Although we would welcome other partners to support this program. And still here, through the structures of people with disabilities, you know that in our current local government structure, there are provisions for people with disabilities, even at the level of sub-county, even at the level of district. And through those systems, we are able to identify people living with disabilities from where they exist. And that is the same mechanism we use to identify them, and we give them this, this fund. We are also reaching out to different training centers, because there are also training centers that target these people.
Yes.
Give them skills. There are centers which train the blind. We also have their national, unions.
Yes.
For like DIPU, like UNAD, Uganda National Association for the Deaf, and others. Those now give us a platform to reach out to these people who are candidates for this kind of grant. Yeah.
Very interesting. Now we want to move to the children. Do you have anything particular? Because one of the vulnerable groups you talked about, and you mentioned, or you opened a can of worms when you talked about the street children. This is a very big problem, Chalimpa. And every time I drive through the streets of Kampala, my heart bleeds when I see these young children. As in our cars, we are taking hours to school. Sometimes you even tell them, put the windows up. And you see them because they are kids waving at the other. They both share a smile. This one is going into a bright future. The other one, growth is leading him or her into a dark continent or a dark future. So how are we handling this problem?
First of all, Comrade Chitao, the law puts the responsibilities of looking after children solely on the parent. That is according to the Children Act. So the first point is to ensure that the children do not have reason to abandon homes to go to the streets. We want to state this categorically, that the responsibility of looking after the children lies with the parents. However, we are also aware that for some reasons there are children who we find on the streets. And here the government has in place different centers across the country. You have children who are for rehabilitation, children who find themselves in the conflict with the law, where you have a whole system. We have, for example, Naguru Teenage, we have Naguru Center, where children who are found in these circumstances are kept.
Is that the
looked
remand
after
home?
by government. There is also, that's the remand home. There is also the campings. But we also have these scattered across the country, in Kobrin, in different places. All these institutions within the Ministry of Gender provide us an opportunity to have these kind of children. And once they are there, they are not convicts. We are training them because, first of all, they are young people who, in the definition of the law, we cannot charge for any crime. They are not 18. They are not reached age of consent. But now, government at that stage does intervene in a way of putting them on track, giving them skills. Some of them have come out better citizens, reintegrated into society. But there are also those where we have been in position to link them with communities. We have had situations to do with the Kalamajong kids who come from districts like Napak and find themselves in the streets. Recently, the minister working with the different responsibility centers, in this case, Kampala City Authority, mounted operations to rid the streets of Kampala of these street kids. Yes. And they were rounded up, kept in the centers that I mentioned. And now, once they are kept, the process of identifying, locating the origin of these children now starts. And at that point, some have been reintegrated. We are also believe that these other programs that government has put in place could help in a way in mitigating some of the challenges or problems that cause children to run away from the homes. In some homes, they are even encouraged, which I think, not just thinking, which is criminal. For example, to ask children to leave the homes, to go to the streets to beg, because you cannot buy food. And now we believe that families which find themselves in those challenges can benefit from the programs that are already in place, empowerment programs, such that this situation of vulnerabilities can be mitigated right from the root.
Now, there you bring in the element of families to ensure that they are empowered, so that some of the problems that come along and see these children on the streets. But I also want to appeal to you, Joshua, and the powers that be that are watching. I was at Naguru Remand Home some time back for journalistic purposes, and I found the situation there not very friendly. First, the overpopulation. Then when I went to Kampiringi site, was worse. Some buildings even looked dilapidated. And I think we need to put more investment into these places. The fence, it looked like something else than what it should be. I want to believe and I want to call upon government, now that I have the spokesperson of the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, to release funds and to have this thing look better. This remand home look better. I know now it has a challenge that when they round street children, some are also taken there. So it does not only combine, doesn't only work as a remand home or rehabilitation center for these children who have fallen, because you said by 18 years. Below 18 years, they can't, we can't hold them accountable. But they still need a decent place. I remember there's a building I went through, and even I think it was leaking. So I was like, oh God, what is happening here? So we need to invest more in there and see that we get them there. Now, we've had the old people. Now I want us to venture into what is tailor-made for the women, because they're also taken as a vulnerable group. What are those programs that a woman watching us there can know that this is what government has for me, and I should go and partake of it?
Thank you very much, Comrade, and thank you for advocating for more budget allocation to the social sector, in particular the Ministry of Gender. Uganda as a developing country, we are still operating a rabbit economy, if I can use that. We have lots of things to do, but the economy is still small to look after all those challenges we're talking about.
Some believe we don't get our priorities right.
Nonetheless, there has been increased budget allocation to the sector. I want to thank government for that. We still believe that more can be done, but we are talking about the programs in place because government has recognized a need to fund this sector. I know that going forward there will also be support to vulnerable families in vulnerable situations for purposes of looking after the children. And this is in the morphing. It could come soon. Now, for the women you are talking about, we have a number of programs, of course. We have also ensured that before we talk about programs that are domiciled in the Ministry of Gender, that all government programs that are being developed, whether run by different ministries, are engendered. Talk, for example, about PDM, the Parish Development Model. Government, in the design of the program, of course working in hand in hand with the Ministry of Gender and other stakeholders, the Ministry of Gender ensured that there's a special provision for women, because we knew that because of their vulnerabilities, we also, because we knew that in the leadership structures, probably they don't have much voice. They would lose out in a big program like that. And there was a special provision that gave an allocation of 30% for the women to benefit. So all the monies, the 100 million sent at the parish, 30% of that money should go for the benefit of women. And I think that is a big milestone. Now, even at that level, we made sure that the youth are provided for. It's also one of those vulnerable categories because at that age they have not accumulated wealth.
Yes.
They probably had not accessed funding through the normal institutions of a bank. So they have been catered for through those programs. There are also other programs. Look at Emyoga, for example. There is the Myoga for women. There is a Myoga for youth. There are special provisions for women in those programs. I want to say this thanks to the Ministry of Gender for ensuring that gender issues are embedded within the design of the government programs. But within the Ministry of Gender, there are programs specific. One being the Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Program.
No man can benefit from that.
The Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Program is special allocation for women.
Yes.
And it looks at the challenges women face from the core. One of them is that we know that women in Uganda are in they compete globally in entrepreneurship. This is according to the MasterCard Index, the latest. It shows that our women are very competitive in business. Most of the businesses, ironically, in the micro sector, and this you don't have even to do research. If you go to a market, you'll find that the people running small stalls there,
roadside
selling tomatoes,
vendors, yes.
selling onions, those are women. Even on the roadsides, those are women. But we realize that the businesses of those women remain stunted. You'll find that a woman who was selling tomatoes of capital probably of 50,000, the business will remain at the capitation of 50,000 forever. And they use the little profits they make from that capital to look after the children, even pay school fees, buy food. And it is because of those domestic requirements that those businesses will never grow. And realizing that, we found that they push to be able to develop, to nurture and grow their enterprises. That is how the Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Program was birthed. We also are aware that because of the patriarchy system of society that we have, most of the women do not have collateral to go to the bank.
Very true.
They don't have land, at least until recently when the succession law was amended. Even then, it will take time for it to take root because we're dealing with the patriarchy system and changing that system becomes difficult. It's so rooted in the minds of Ugandans that even a woman who makes her business, becomes rich, builds an empire, when they want to, when they are making a will, they will probably entrust it in the son,
yes,
and not the daughter, because of a society which has
cultural elements.
Cultural elements. So now, because of those challenges, there was need for a special provision to be put in place. But remember, this was for startup. Over time,
when you talk about startup, that means this was money given to them to start business.
This was startup because I'm talking about the amount of money that is being dispensed.
Yes.
Because the maximum amount that these women could get and in a group was 12.5 million.
Couldn't do so.
And it is good, but not good enough to graduate an enterprise. So they were able to do things, grow enterprises up to a certain level. And the ministry again realized that what do you do to graduate these enterprises such that they are able to be competitive, even export their products, add value, they needed more money. And that is how another program, again within the ministry, which is being implemented with support from the World Bank and also in partnership with other players, including the private sector foundation, under the Ministry of Gender, the program called GROW was also brought on board. For it, it is not looking at the startups. It is looking at women who have reached certain level and may want now to expand their enterprises. They can access big money. They can access even 500 million, even 600 million onwards. It is also looking at supporting the different networks of women groups. Women have different associations. Those ones are still supported again, this time with grants to expand and support those enterprises and those networks of women groups. So we are looking at the different categories of women, also realizing that women are not a homogeneous group. They are not the same. Some of them are at a certain level, some of them are at a different level, and we need all of them to be addressed as women.
Well, we have looked at a number of projects or programs of government as intervention to help the various vulnerable groups. Now, when we talk about the PDM, also to be general, though in that PDM, like my guest has mentioned, there are areas where it is ring-fenced for women, ring-fenced for persons with a disability. So we've looked at all those, and of course not forget that by and large, the PDM was aimed at ensuring that the 39% of our people who are not in the money economy are brought into the money economy. We've seen the president traverse the entire country and doing what? That is wealth creation tours, looking at how the parish development model has been working. And I must say, we've had some testimonies of some people who have really benefited from that 1 million, and their lives have been transformed. I remember watching a woman, I think she was called Bira Persi, mentioning how she invested this money into poultry. She used 600, got the birds, and then the balance fed the birds, and how she has been. And now she's talking about having made about 8 times sales and about 10 million money. So government wants you, a Ugandan, to have some money on you, wants you to be rich. But Joshua, I know time seems to be flying, but what is the role then of the people? Because sometimes you get disappointed. What government injects in these programs and what is the outcome are not in tandem.
Yes, Comrade Shirabo, there is a lot to do in that area. The area or the issue of mindset is still a challenge, be it for the women, be it for the youth, and it comes in different ways. One of them is the thinking that once government gives you money is for eating, they are appreciating you for service, especially it comes, especially this time of the year, when people are traversing for elections, for campaigns, and the people think that when they get services, they are being maybe appreciated. And as a result, they are not obliged to pay back. Most of the funds we are running are revolving funds. We are also looking at the issue of group approach. There is this mentality of Ugandans wanting to operate as individuals. And as a result, there is a fragmentation of groups or disintegration of groups, especially once the money has come in. That they can be together as 10 women or 10 youth. But once they get the 10 million, they start fighting around to share the money, and as a result, the enterprise for which it was meant is not implemented. I want to appeal to Ugandans watching this television to know that this is their money, and to know that the responsibility to get out of poverty falls in the hands of the beneficiaries, the Ugandans themselves. It is not very common to find a government like what we have in Uganda to think about the citizens to the level of giving them, providing them capital to do things. It is, you don't find it in America, because in a capitalist system, they believe that one rich person starts a factory and gives the others the jobs. The Ugandan model is that they believe in everybody, every Ugandan can do something. This is not very common, and Uganda has been benchmarked by many countries who are copying this model as it is working. Plowing back money collected through the, different revenue streams and putting it back to the people so that they can contribute to the economy. Of course, this is the only way a country like Uganda can achieve its development goals, because once the people have been empowered, they have established enterprises, it also increases the tax base. And once the tax base is increased, it means that the government even gets more taxes, and therefore can invest those taxes into the social programs and into other development programs so that we can reach the status, the development status that we want to achieve as a country.
Well, reach the development status. I'll just give you just a minute so that I get your parting shot as we move out of the studios.
Comrade Chirabo, I want to thank you for always giving us this opportunity. The work we do daily in the midst of gender is to reach out to the people, to mobilize them, to partake of these government programs. We believe that once the people have been empowered, we are talking about the mindset change has changed, they are participating in the economy, we will have achieved the mandate of the ministry, and that's why we take seriously every time you give us an opportunity to come and address Ugandans on this platform. Thank you very much for always inviting us.
Well, thank you, Joshua, for being part of this show. And above all, you, my viewer, our viewer, thank you so very much for being with us. Well, you have been told about the government programs that are there to benefit you. So the onus is upon you to ensure you benefit. If these monies are there and you can use them, if they're revolving fund, you pay back with a little bit of profit so that someone else can continue using this money. Why die of poverty? Why go to money lenders that are going to take so much of you, yet you've taken little of them? Now, just look out for that contact person of a particular government program and be part of the program. Have the best of your day and week. God bless you. See you tomorrow, God willing.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra. In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability.